Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Well, we're going to take a look at this Hummer instrument cluster. So the problem we had, what was wrong with it, was U28 had shorted out and was taking out the communication bus on here and nothing was working. But how did that happen? I've never seen U28 or U27 just like fail on the wild, other than people, sometimes when they're testing in their car, they'll plug it in there without the back on there. They'll short out the legs on that, and they'll burn it up. I have seen that before with like a catastrophic failure of U27 or U28. Generally, it's like it's cracked or there's smoke, obvious smoke around it, stuff like that. But that's not what happened here. So what happened with this circuit board is you can kind of see here how this is a little bit corroded, and down here and around here is corroded. So the guy that sent me this instrument cluster, he just bought this Hummer a couple of months ago. It's already had a ton of problems with it, but this instrument cluster, he was just driving down the road and it just went dead on him. And he said, hey, I got a dead instrument cluster. Can you send it in? And I was like, cool, yeah, send it in. It's going to be, these resistors here. It's going to be a really easy repair, and I can take care of it. It gets here, and that wasn't the problem. I really roughly and quickly went over this area just to make it work. Because normally what I do is I power it up and I push on it. But as soon as I opened it, I could see corrosion in it. And I was like, oh no, this probably isn't going to be the simple repair that I'm used to on these. So got it, and sure enough, what I found was one of the first things I do with diagnostics is I take all the bulbs off, well, all of the incandescent bulbs that are like normally on off, to help me with just finding currents and stuff like that. And I noticed when I was using the tester here that the light for the light, even though there was nothing wired in there and the switch was off, it was still flickering a little bit there. So I knew, hey, I have some voltage on the light circuit, even though there's no bulbs at all on here. So I put the voltmeter on there and I saw 2.5 volts. So I figured, oh man, one of my 5-volt rails is shorted to the the lighting circuit here. And sure enough, there was a short right here where the acid, because it wasn't, I don't think it chafed against it, because all of them were trimmed pretty short like this, so the leads weren't long enough to be chafing that or anything. But that flux that was in that solder they used had drooped out and really corroded up some stuff. These vias over here not in very good condition. And so that's what we're going to take a moment here and talk about, like what kind of solder you should be using when you're doing this. And the quick down and dirty is you're not supposed to use plumber's solder on circuit boards. It generally has a warning on the roll that you shouldn't do that. So kind of things you can look for are like these chip quick solder or your classic Kester solder, and I have more Kester here, oh, your classic Kester solder, like I have some here and some here. This one's date coded 1999, but it still works, so I'm not gonna throw out free solder that was given to me. But yeah, I like Kester and I like Chip Quick solder. And just things to look for is that it's no clean. So this one's a no clean flux on here. This one's actually a no clean water washable. You got to be careful with water washable fluxes, because a lot of those are organic acids and those are dangerous. But this one is a no clean. But yeah, you do have to be careful with water washable fluxes, because a lot of those are organic acids and you have to wash it really well to get it all off the board, or else you'll end up with the same problems you have using plumber's solder. It didn't appear that they had added flux anywhere themselves. It looks like it was just the flux that was in the solder itself, but the plumber solder is pretty heavy on the flux that's inside it, because you have this flux core that's inside of your solder. And so yeah, that's what happened, is that just corroded away at it and ate away at the PCB here. They must have nicked the PCB a little bit, because I mean it can't really, the solder mask is pretty resilient stuff. It's not very reactive, so I don't think it ate through the solder mask itself. There must have been a nick in the solder mask that then it started to corrode that wire, and then yep, we get a short across here and kills U28. So that's what happened. Pretty, you know, I've never seen that before on here. I was just going to replace the whole circuit board, but of course GM doesn't list the OSID and calibrations for Hummer instrument clusters in Tiz2Web or in Tiz Online, whatever it's called. Mike helped me out with that because I was sitting there putting the VIN number and I'm like, I'm not seeing this. What am I doing wrong? Why am I not seeing this in the VIN? And emailed Mike. He goes, yeah, they didn't put the Hummer stuff in there. They didn't consider the Hummer instrument clusters to be programmable. So, you know, okay. So yeah, let's get this replaced. I'm just going to put U28 from another circuit board onto here. I have some good ones that are actually in my parts drawer. So you probably already know what U28 is. It is the stepper driver. It's this 4-channel stepper driver. So U28 drives M3, M1, I'm not sure which one that is, and M6. I'm gonna guess M5 there. But yeah, let's get this one on here. Pin 1 is right here on U28. So we'll go ahead and just get some, I'm gonna get some fresh solder on here, and then we'll use the hot air station to actually put it on. Okay, so now that we put a new U28 on there, let's verify that it will still power up. And there we go. We are still powering up. So now I just need to go through the regular rebuild process, reflow and clean everything up. I do need to put the EEPROM back on here. I took it off and put it on another board because I was planning on just using a whole different board. And then I was like, since I don't know the OS for this, I better try to actually get this one working, because it didn't look salvageable. Generally, what I do is verify that I have power to the microcontroller, and if nothing else is coming on, then it's a bad microcontroller, because that's normally what it is in that condition. When you have power to it, which you can just check this little farad bead there, inductor, it's a little inductor. It's just an inductor to filter out noise before it gets to the microcontroller. Once you check that inductor and it has the 5 volts there, then you know, hey, normally you have a bad microcontroller. So that was kind of the way it went, and then found, oh no, actually this was just making it where this couldn't communicate with anything else. So I took it off so this can go in the parts bin, and now I can finish rebuilding it. So not bad, U28. All right, so I actually checked where the shorted trace here under the microscope to see if it blew the trace. It did not actually blow the trace, it just had corroded it pretty bad. So I'm just gonna tin it with some solder just to prevent any future corrosion on there, and then put some solder mask on it just to then prevent that from being exposed anymore. So that should be enough solder there to take care of that. Just clean that and then put some solder mask on it. And yeah, I normally only clean things when I'm done with the whole process, but just because this had that acid etch on there, or well, not acid etch, but the that acid-based solder on it, I am being a little more liberal with my cleaning on here, and it's going to get a bath in what do you call it, Dawn dish soap when I'm completely done. All right, it looks like it's not going to let enough out. Let's see here. One of these tiny ones, I don't feel like getting the needle and the plunger all out. I just put a little dab on there and then wipe it with a card. All right, then we just need the UV light. Okay, so we got this cured up over here. So nice solder mask there that'll keep us from shorting again in the future. I'll probably put some conformal coating on again also later. But let's talk about LEDs real quick, because I get asked this a bunch on the channel, mostly from people that aren't long-term subscribers to the channel, but still, a lot of people ask, what are you doing for LEDs? And the long-term subscribers will probably go, oh, you use those SMD3s. I actually don't use these anymore. They've been giving me problems with the new, so the original manufacturer of these changed. The sellers on eBay and everything, and AliExpress, everyone that has these, they used to have a these 0804 resistors on here with it's a 330 ohm, or yeah, 330 ohm resistor on there with the 3 light bulbs and or 3 LEDs on there, and it worked good. They lasted a while. They weren't driving the LEDs super hard on there, so it really wasn't a problem. But then the new manufacturer came along, and they're using the 0603 resistor on there, which isn't a problem that it's an 0603. It's not like it's too much current going through it, but that's just how I identify them. That's how I can tell, hey, this is the other manufacturer. But yeah, that one is a lower resistance on it, so it drives those LEDs harder, hotter, and they burn up, and they're more susceptible to voltage spikes there. They're more set up to run at 12 volts, even though cars are really running at 14 volts, not 12. Plus, you also have the fact that there's voltage spikes and all of that on the car, so you really don't want to set it up for that. Now, I'm going to show you how I do it these days, which is I just put a 0803 resistor in between 2 pads here, and then I put a LED across there. Now, I'm not going to tell you what value resistor I'm using, because this is going to really vary by the LED you're using, the manufacturer of the LED, and all the specs on it. So you need to read your data sheet and go use a calculator. I mean, they make calculators for LEDs. So like, use a calculator and let's just set it to 16 volts or something, because the cars aren't at 14 volts. Yeah, well, I mean, the cars are at 14 volts, but you have voltage spikes. So just use that as your guide for calculating it. Read your current and then calculate that way. And then just get like the common resistor value that's closest to that, because you're not going to get a perfect number. But yeah, so that's how I do it. And that's how you're going to go calculate your own resistor and figure out what ohm resistor to use. I'm not going to tell you what one I'm using, just so that way you guys don't just, you know, the guys that don't know how to calculate won't go out and learn if I tell you. If I go, oh yeah, you just use this resistor with these LEDs, that's what's going to happen, and then they're going to switch and have problems. So let's get into this. Let's actually get this on here. So the first thing I do is I go around and I tin 1 pad on each of these, so that way I have it. And you'll notice if you look closely, 2 of these not used pads are closer and the other 2 are further. from the used pads. So just always, for the closer one, put your 08, 03 in between it, and then put your LED in between the longer gap, and it's like the perfect spacing. So now let's just get our resistor and put it on there. Okay, then we're gonna put some solder onto this pad here. And now let's get our LED, and I'm just gonna show one of these real quick, so that way I can get back to this and actually finish it. Recording really adds time to these. Okay, and now we have that LED on there. I believe I remembered the polarity correctly, so yep, there we go. Now we have the LED on there. So yeah, I got 2 of them on there. I need to get the rest of them going. I tried to do recording there and I kind of misspoke a little bit. So we did another one. Yeah, let's let me finish this. I'll show you it all together. Okay, and as you can see, it is now working. Let's do the test sweep here. Fully assembled, and yes, the footage a little grainy, but that's just because I have it here in the dark, so the ISO is turned all the way up. But yeah, there you go. You know, you get the kind of blue color there, and that's because the back of it's tinted blue, and then with the white LEDs, it comes through as that light blue color. But I mean, that's really all there is to this repair. We just replaced U28, and I actually had to run a jumper, but that was pretty irrelevant to the main repair there, so I left that out of the video. But hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll show you this since it's dark in here, so you won't really be able to see it. But this is what our next video hopefully will be, because I owe this to JLC PCB. It's a sponsored video, but yeah, I made a little panel here, so guess what these are based on what you can see here in the dark. So I'll see you guys in the next one.